It's pretty hard to deal with for the local residents there. Josh Bavis, our reporter. Back home, firefighters are bracing for difficult conditions in New South Wales today, while a blaze in Victoria's East Gippsland region has threatened homes overnight.
Well, we're joined now by reporter Ainsley Druitt-Smith on the New South Wales South Coast and reporter Sarah Maunder at the Incident Control Centre in East Gippsland, Victoria. Ainsley, I want to start with you. Give us an idea of that area you're in and what they've been facing.
Yeah, good morning, Lisa. Well, as I'm sure you can see, the area around me is completely blackened from the blaze, the Currowan fire that ripped through this region late last week. It's still incredibly smoky in this area, with hot temperatures predicted for later today, trapping that smoke closer to the ground. There's still a number of burning, smouldering logs around us and embers, and fire crews worked in this area much of yesterday and earlier this morning to put out some of those smaller sort of spot fires in the region to ensure that any windy conditions don't pick them up and burn sort of already unburnt pockets of this region. The focus of fire crews today will be further west of this region on communities just east of Braidwood. The fire is currently burning quite dense bush, similar to what you can see around me. Now, the temperatures, as I said, are expected to increase today. The winds will pick up from a southeasterly direction primarily, which will push that fire north, and there is still a threat for these communities along the coast if it does push the fire closer to those coastal areas later on today. Earlier this morning, we saw the Princess Highway reopen, which was a massive reprieve for a number of residents and, of course, businesses in this area, which have suffered over the last 10 days. It's usually a very busy time for tourists in this region, in fact, the busiest time of the year. So to have to close shops has crippled some. Others are saying they're pleased that people are continuing to keep their bookings well after the Christmas break as well. So today, fire crews will focus their efforts in the western part of this region and continue to monitor some of those hot spots that are still burning in these sorts of forests, which were just absolute infernos only a few days ago.
Ainsley, thanks for that. Sarah, it's been cooler in Victoria certainly today, but still they're really watching what's going on here, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So a watch and act warning has been issued for the areas of Holstons, Reedy Flat, Ensay North and Timbarra. So these fires yesterday reached an emergency level because the weather here in East Gippsland really did reach those mid to high 30s. Overnight, crews were working on that fire and managed to bring it back to a watch and act level, and it is so much cooler today, but unfortunately these fires in East Gippsland will continue burning for some time, at least for the next few weeks. They actually started about 2 weeks ago and were started by lightning strike, but the fuel loads in this part of Victoria are so dry that authorities are saying that these fires will be burning for some time. So authorities were really warning that yesterday's hot weather would see an increase of fire activity, and that's exactly what we saw yesterday, with those fires getting up to an emergency level late yesterday afternoon. But as I said, overnight crews were able to work really hard. About 500 people were on the ground here in East Gippsland battling those fires that were threatening those communities of Ensay, Timbarra and Reedy Flat. They are down to watch and act at the moment, but people in that area are still being told to monitor the situation and really keep an eye on anything, because the situation could change quite quickly.
Sarah and Ainsley, thanks very much for the updates.
Okay, for the very latest on the Russian doping ban announced overnight, over to you, PK.
Yes, thank you very much, Michael. For reaction on that 4-year ban handed down by WADA to Russia, which has 21 days to appeal.